Welcome, everybody. This is a crazy day today already. And this is the 11 o'clock level 3 on Friday class. We are still in book 336. We're towards the end of the book, and we're doing today We've Got Tonight by Bob Seger, and it's on page 204. Now, this is level 3. You guys did not get any preset sheets today, but that doesn't mean I don't have one. I decided, with Beverly's help, she took a look at this and went, no, that's not level 3. It's not. I got a little carried away, a little bit, yep. And so I've got an entire sheet of stuff, and it's not hard stuff, it's just pushing buttons. But I've also got easy versions of this, and that's what we're going to focus on today. I will tell you where I'm making changes, and if any of you want this, get it from me personally, because I'm not going to have Robert put it on Patreon. All right? This is just going to be by request only. All right? So if you absolutely want it, and I know some of you love doing stuff like this, Connie loves this kind of stuff, and Joanne does not. So
Hey, I
Hey.
do it. I do it.
It's okay. But because this is level 3, I'm going to keep it rather easy today. I am going to add a few chords, very few, so no worries. What do we know about this song anyway? This is Bob Seger, and he's a Michigan guy. Yeah. And this is from his album Stranger in Town, 1978. The single charted 2 times. My goodness, I wish I would write a song that would chart twice. Once with him in the Silver Bullet Band, and then once again in 1983 as a duet with Kenny Rogers and Sheena Easton. Yeah, and that actually was very pretty that way as well. I liked it both ways. The song developed from an earlier Seger composition called This Old House. When Seger saw the film The Sting, remember The Sting with Paul Newman and Robert Redford? He was inspired by the scene between Robert Redford's character and a woman he was attracted to who says, I don't even know you, at the door. Remember, he comes to the door and knocks on the door. He wants in, and she just opens it and says, I don't even know you. And he says, it's 2 in the morning and I don't know nobody. And so he was inspired by that scene to write this song, or to use an old song and recreate it to make We've Got Tonight. So if you think about the Sting in that scene, that's what Bob Seger was actually thinking about. All right. How can we make this easy? Well, everybody's got smooth full band, which is easy 4/4. If you've got an A organ, it's soft and easy easy 4/4. And if you're on smooth, it's just called easy 4/4. And that one works very well. As a matter of fact, that's the one that I started with on my preset sheet. 64 beats a minute, but you're going to play it in double time. You're going to play it like it's 128. You're going to play it in double time. So it's 64 beats a minute, and just play it the way it feels. Now, the other one that I used was pop ballad. Pop ballad, some of you have it, some of you do not. At 64 beats a minute, same thing. And I'm using, which one did I pick? Yeah, I know. Oh, rhythm preset 0, normal 0, vintage 0 on that. On the pop ballad. So it's the smooth guitar. That smooth guitar on the top. And because the pop ballad, I kind of did it the Sheena Easton and Kenny Rogers duet version. And so I've got one voice here, and I use the sax down here. And the only thing I did that would make the duet sing together is I then combined, when they get to the parts where they sing together, put the saxophone up here. All right, now that can be a little bit tricky because you have to read this section of the organ. If you are on an Inspire, Rialto, Marquis, Grand Marquis aria, all you have to do is find the instruments that are going only to the lower right and touch up or on. and it puts them there. If you are on an A organ where you have two instruments and two commands, you have to figure out which one's going where. And on this one, you've actually got the saxophone and a combination of an ocarina going to the lower keyboard in your blue, in your solo section. So you can't just push up or on. You have to push up or on and turn lower right off. So now both sounds will go to the upper keyboard. So that's what you do when you want to create a preset for both of them together. Or not. The other thing you can just do is touch duet. Make it easy. Make it super easy. So this is a song that you can make as easy or as hard as you want. Okay, now I'm going to play the hard version just so you can hear what I did. And maybe you can get some ideas. And if you get one idea from this and you go, oh, that's the one I want to do. If you just hit on one sound that makes sense to you or adding one thing that makes sense to you, try it for your arrangement, but keep it at like one button pushes, unless you're brave enough to ask me for one of these. Okay, so here we go. We've got tonight, and I'm going to use intro 2. I'm on easy 4/4 at 64. And which one am I using? Rhythm preset 0. And I'm using intro number 2.
Like,
Okay, so you liked what you heard?
yeah, I did.
I'm kidding.
I did.
Okay, if you noticed, I played more than what was there, so I had to go
I
back and
know.
repeat some stuff, didn't I? I followed Bob Seger's song. I just went through and did it how he did it to the best of my ability. Okay, so I did a repeat, and then I repeated that same part again, and it's at the end of page on page 207, line 3.
Mhm.
When you get to the end of line 3, I'm going back to the 206, line 4, and you can either start it in the third measure or right at the beginning of the fourth measure. Doesn't matter which one, because I'm doing a drum solo in one case and I'm doing a fill in
Yeah, I
another
noticed you
case.
did. I
So,
wrote.
so that's where you're going back to. So you
Mhm.
can make repeat signs and you can make silly signs if you want. Just you're playing that section actually 3 times. You're going to play it once, you're going to go back to your silly sign, and then you're going to go back to the silly sign again. So the musically correct way to do it is to put repeat dots and then put a silly sign. But
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Just so you know that you're going to be playing those 5 lines, 3 lines at the top of 207, and actually it's 4 lines because you're only playing a pickup. Um, so those 4.5 lines, as long as you know that you're playing that twice. What happened here? Did he?
So then you did your repeat, from 207 to 204 and then back to the silly sign.
No, 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 no. Back
Oh,
206. You're going back to page 206. You're
okay.
only doing from here to here. Now you do have a repeat. You do have a repeat here as well, but that's a different one.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that's written. So, okay, first thing to do, let's do the roadmap. All right. So we're going to play the verse, all of verse 1, which is page 204,
Mhm.
page 205, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, and line 5, there's your first ending. Whoops, why does Luis keep popping out there? Trying to let him in. So your first ending is down at the bottom, and then your dots are there on the second to the last measure. So you want to make those a color. Where are you going back to? Yeah, that's where you would go to A2,
Second measure.
correct. So if you're following presets or you're making a change, you would go to A2 right before you get to the deep in my. So you want deep in my to start with A2. Deep in my soul. And you're going back to the dots at the beginning of the song. Now we're going to do the second verse. I've been so lonely, all of my hopes fading away. I've longed for love like everyone else does. I know I'll keep searching even after today. So there it is, girl. I've said it all now. And here we are, babe. What do you say? We've got tonight. Who needs tomorrow? We've got tonight. Why don't you stay? Now you might want to put a colorful 2. I'll try to. He keeps popping out. How come I can't get him? Got somebody that wants to come in and it's not letting me. Yeah, it's not letting me let him in. The minute I click on him, he goes away. So you want to put a 2 at the end of line 4, and then you can just put an arrow straight down to this last measure, because that's your second ending. All right. Right there is where you want to put A3 if you're following presets. A3 at the end of page 205. So you kick into A3, and then you go to the top of page 206 and you play your E flat and you play that bridge part. I know it's late and I know you're weary. I know your plans don't include me. If you're following presets, right there, line 2, 1, 2, 3, at the end of measure 3, put an A4, or beginning of measure 4, put an A4 right there. Still, here we are, both of us lonely, okay, And then you're going to have your silly sign either at the beginning of the third measure or the beginning of the fourth measure, doesn't matter. Because you've got a whole measure of rest there, so it doesn't matter. And then you also want to go to A5. Right there. We've got tonight. I actually should move mine over because I've got it down here, and it should be up here. All right, we've got tonight. Who needs tomorrow? Let's make it last. Let's find a way. Turn out the light. Come take my hand now. We've got tonight, babe. Why don't you stay? And either at the end of the line or the second to the last measure. So, because you've got to, again, you've got to rest there. So you're going to go back to,
You want
Four,
A6 there.
yeah, you're going to go to A6.
Mm-hmm.
Before you go back to the repeat, before you go back to repeat this, all right, let me try this again. Why can't I? There we go. Now I caught him. So you're going to go back to your silly sign or your repeat dots, and you're going to actually do it on A6 next time.
Oh,
Okay?
uh-huh.
Then when you go back the second time, you're going to do it on A7. So you're going to play those 4.5 lines on 3 different presets. 5 the first time, 6 the second time, and 7 the third time. And then the last 2 lines are your ending, and you're going to go to A8 at the beginning of line 4.
So, just to make sure,
Mm-hmm.
page 206,
Mm-hmm.
line 4,
Line 4.
section 4, it's A5, 6.
Okay, that makes sense.
Correct. That is correct. Andy put it another way. So line 4 on page 206, measure 4, or measure 3, doesn't matter, because you've got a bunch of rests in there. You're going to actually have 3 presets, A5, A6, and A7. So you're going to play that section on 3 different presets. I always like to put it at the end of my section so that I can kick it before I get there, but that's essentially another way to put it.
Would I be wrong then, Dawn, to put the A6 and A7 on the repeat dots when we go back the second time?
That's where I put them. Yeah, that's where I like
That's-
to put them.
That made sense to me.
Yeah, you
So
put
I
them where
don't
it's
have to
going
put it then on the other?
Yeah. Now,
Okay.
for those of you who think that's going to make it A, too long, B, too hard, just play what's here.
Right, right.
Just play what's here. I just followed Bob Seger's song and how he created it, as I tried to follow it to the best of my ability. And for those of you who are even remotely curious, I was working a lot with the bass tabs. We've never done that before. I don't think we've ever done that before, where we've actually done something different on your orange bass tabs. So if you're curious,
What does that mean? Space tabs?
bass tabs,
Yeah. Oh.
bass, your
Okay,
bass.
fine. Okay.
Because what I did, do you hear a bass in here?
No,
Do you hear a bass?
no.
There's no bass. There's no drums. There's no bass. But I needed a low piano. So I turned off all the bass tabs with the exception of the pedal genius or pedal sound. And I put in a piano. So the piano is sounding low, just going boom, boom, boom. See, if I take everything else off, that's what the bass line is doing. But I'm using a piano sound. That's the first time I think I've ever done something like that.
Okay.
So
You're talking about the graphic mixer.
No, I'm
graphic
talking
mixer?
about your tabs. I'm talking about your bass, your orange tabs,
Ours
not
are
the
over,
mixer. I'm actually changing a sound in your bass and putting a piano in instead of a bass sound.
Oh, okay.
Okay? So if you're curious about that,
Yeah, got it.
I'm not going to put that
Had
on
to go look.
Patreon. I don't want to scare anybody away. This is level 3. This is supposed to be nice and easy. So for those of you that just want to put it on easy 4/4 at 64 and just play the song. And if you want, you can add a duet or go to the lower keyboard. These are just some easy things for you to try.
Dawn,
Uh-huh.
our bass tabs are in the front,
Correct.
not on the side.
Correct. Yours are
Okay.
going to
Right.
be in your screen, right?
Correct.
No.
No?
Oh.
Then they're
I
probably
thought-
here.
They're
They're
right
here,
there.
right?
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Okay.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
If they're here, you're going to do the same
Yeah.
thing. You're going to turn off all your bass tabs with the exception of your Genius or Sound, and
Right.
you're going to change that to a grand piano so it plays low.
Oh, okay.
So it
Okay.
plays low.
Yep.
Because if I took off all the bass, it didn't have the boom, it didn't have the bass. But I
Mhm.
didn't want to add the bass until the second time I played.
Okay.
And so the second time I played, I added back in all those tabs.
Right.
So that was just something completely different that we have not done before. So those of you who are interested in figuring out where all your buttons are, that'd be worth it just for that.
Mhm.
Okay, now what one are you saying that you don't turn off?
The orange pedal
Right.
sound.
Pedal sounds. Don't turn
Mhm.
that off.
Don't
Okay.
turn that one off. You're going to change it to a piano.
Oh, okay. All right.
So what you're going to do is you're going to go to, here's the easy way. Go to your home, go to your
Mhm.
keypad, go to number 1,
Mm,
and
Okay.
put it in your pedal Genius. And
Okay.
turn everything else off. And then
Yeah, pedal sounds.
yeah,
is on
and that's when you
ours.
just get that the low piano is doing the bass pattern.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Your organ can do some really neat things.
Here, got it. 9-foot
Yeah.
grand.
Yeah, bass sustain, bass 16, and bass 8. You know, and when you get to A2, you're going to turn on those 3 tabs, bass sustain, bass 16, and bass 8,
Okay.
which were there before. And we're going
Mhm.
to leave the low piano on as well. Why not?
The
But we're gonna
9-foot grand.
add that big booming bass too.
The 9-foot grand piano you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Got that.
Dawn,
See, fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dawn, a quick review. Would you identify for me, please, the measures where the changes 2, 3, and 4 occur?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. At the end of the first ending on page 205, right before you do Deep in My, that's where you go to A2. So you're playing all of this on A1, then you're going to go to A2, play all of this on A2. When you get to the bottom of the page, the very end, that's where you go to A3. So A3 kicks in at the top of page 206. But you want to change it. You want to change it down here so that if you do a fill-in, all of a sudden you got big drums because you're adding the drums at the top of page 206. And then
John,
A4,
I'm sorry.
it's okay, let me do A4. A4 comes in on line 2 of that page, the end of the 1, 2, 3, at the end of the third measure, right where that half rest is. That's where A4 comes in.
Mhm.
Thank you very much.
Second line, still right before still here we are. Now remember, if you don't want to do those changes, don't. It's okay. So if I were to play the Sheena Easton and Kenny Rogers version, I would go to pop piano, or I'm sorry, pop ballad, not pop yet, pop ballad at 64, and just put it on the preset and go. Actually, I would probably start with Kenny down here. Off beat now. second time, you want Sheena Easton to sing, so you would come to the upper keyboard. You're going to play all page 1 and all of page 2 with Sheena Easton. Now, when you go to the third page, that's when you might want to change it a little bit. Okay, so you might want to put them both together or just add a duet, doesn't matter. And then you can go back. I'm using country harmony, by the way. I'm using country harmony. Now, if you just throw the duet on, what's that going to sound like? And I'm going to start at the top of page 206, and all I'm going to do, and I'm not going to put layers or anything, I'm going to keep it real easy. You're going to use the saxophone for Kenny. The second time, you're going to use the guitar for Sheena. Then you're just going to put on a duet, and we're just going to play the top keyboard. And that sounds good too. So you can make this as easy as you want. Pick a rhythm, find 2 sounds. If you're going to do the Sheena Kenny version, find 2 sounds that you think would work as a duet. And you don't have to combine them. You can. You can put the 2 together when you get to page 3, but you don't have to. You can just push a duet or push a country harmony and play.
Mhm.
I don't want anybody running away saying, oh my God, she's making level 3 too hard.
Dawn,
Yeah.
on the sheet with the presets, did you do everything on the upper keyboard?
Yes.
The presets, everything on the upper?
Yes. Everything on the upper keyboard.
Oh,
Yep. Because it's only the one with the presets. I followed the Bob Seger version, and he's the only
Okay.
guy singing. Now he had some chorus girls singing behind him, and those would be those echoes that you heard me put in on page 3.
Mhm.
Or did you not hear those?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
Yeah. On page 3 or 206. Whoops, we should get to let's do. I just did it an octave lower with my left hand, the G and the E. Weary. Or you could have gone down here. Second line. No echo. Echo. And wherever you have those rests, that's where you're going to be doing lots of fill-in.
Dawn,
On the first line, top line, I know you're weary. Weary. Do the GE, weary. And then the second line, no echo. But on the third line, if you wish, you can do after lonely. Lonely. But you got to be careful because you got to start playing right away. Yes, Sue?
I didn't write down A2. Where the heck is it?
A2. A2 is on page 205.
Correct.
At first ending, bottom of the page, right before you do deep in my.
Oh, I did not write it in, that's why.
It's okay.
I looked all over and I got,
That's just a spot too where you could do your U's and your L's. You're going to an
Mhm.
upper keyboard or a lower keyboard, depending on how hard you want to make this. If
Okay.
you play it all on the same sound and make it the same all the way through, guess what's going to happen? You're going to put your audience to sleep because
Yeah.
this song kind of rambles.
Yeah.
And it's long. So the only really big change is at the top of page 206, and everything else kind of repeats. So that's where you want to make your big change, meaning let's throw in a duet or just follow the presets. And that's where the echoes are. The rest of it, just use your upper and your lower, or if you want, you can also try some of your other presets if you have them.
Mhm.
Did you use ending 2?
Yes, I did. I used ending 2.
Pretty song.
Oh yes, I did. Dottie called me out. I had another echo, and that was on page 206. Last line, first measure. We've got tonight. And yeah, Kenny sings, and then Sheena comes in and goes, so it's the same notes, but she goes up on the G. It's E, D, C, and go up to the next G. So we've got tonight, and then Sheena comes in.
Mhm.
I forgot about that one. Thank you.
So there's 1, 2, 3, actually.
So you can make it as easy or as hard as you want. And where you've got all those rests, if you want to do a drum solo, you may. Anywhere you want. If you just want to do lots of fill-ins, do lots of fill-ins. This is where you can start to get creative and make your arrangement the way you want to make it. And I'm sure you can also find some other rhythms that would work, but those are the two that really worked the best for me. If you do a drum solo, let's review. What is a drum solo? Well, if we're on pop ballad, we're going to do a no chord. Remember, your drums never stop. And then if you do a fill-in with your no chord, now you get a nice drum solo. And that can help you with all those rests, or it can be a nice interlude between sections, like getting into the top of page 206, or in the middle on line 4, where you've got 3 rests in a row. You can do a drum solo in there too, and then start playing again. And that just adds a little bit of interest to your song. What does that sound like on Easy 4/4? No chord. Okay. See, every rhythm's going to give you something a little different.
How about putting a virtuoso in there?
That could work as well. That's a nice alternate fill-in if you don't want to use. I'm not crazy about the fill-in on Easy 4/4. Just the fill-in alone. It works, but I'm not that crazy about it. But yeah, you could do one of these. Absolutely. Virtuoso is always a good alternate fill-in.
When I get one, I'll be able to do that.
Would you like me to call you after class?
Not
Yeah,
at this
that's-
time.
Okay. All right, I told you I was adding a few chords, very few. The chords that are here are absolutely fine, by the way, so you don't have to do any chord changing if you don't want. But if you want to add a little bit, challenge yourself a little bit, let's go to line 2, first page, line 2, measure 3. Make that F an F major 7, capital M-A-J 7, and those two notes are E and F. Let's turn off everything but the easy. E and F. And then beat 3 over that high A. You can go back to a plain old F, or you can play an F6. Now an F6 is a little harder because you have to take your hand totally out of position. F, A, C, D, and it must be in that order. So it's probably easier to just go F major 7, F. If you play F major 7 and then do an F6, you have to bring your hand out of position. If you put the D on the bottom, it's going to be a D minor 7, and you don't want that sound. So you have to be careful. Sixes have to be in root position. All right, let's go to line 3. We're going to use the same 2 chords. Make the F in measure 3 an F major 7, E and F, and then beat 3 over the E for both. Put an F or an F6. Line 4, same thing. The F can be an F major 7, and then in beat 3 over the high A, either a plain old F or an F6. And that's it for page 1. Page 2, no changes. Woohoo! Page 3, 206. Line 3, last measure, not the first measure, last measure. Make the F an F major 7 and beat 3 over the A, either a plain old F or an F6. Now you may want to, you're already on a C going from, they've got a C in the middle of line 4, and that C carries all the way through that first measure of the next line. You may want to put a C over the G for night. You know why? Because if you're doing a drum solo, you don't have a chord. You have no chord at all. And then when you get to the word night, you want the chord to come back in. So over the G for night, put a C chord. Okay? And if you're using the C chord anyway and no drum solo, it doesn't matter because you're already on it. All right, let's go to the top of 207. Last page. Second measure. Make that F an F major 7, E and F. And then beat 3 over the A, an F or an F6. Line
Excuse
2.
me, Dawn, would you repeat, did you say line 1 or line 2?
Line 1
Yeah,
and line 2. Line 2, the second measure, you have an F, make it an F major 7. And
yeah.
the third beat over the E, plain old F or F6. And line 3, second measure, make that F an F major 7. And beat 3 over the E, plain old F or F6.
Did you put a plain old F on the first line after the F major 7?
Yes. Yes.
Over
So-
what? Over the A?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
That's
Got
it. That's your changes. That's it.
Got it. Thank
If
you.
So even if you don't follow the extra chords, the chords that are there are perfectly fine. So you can keep it as easy as you want. But if you learn one thing, then you're 100% successful. Yep. If you don't want to do the repeat at the end of the song, just play the song through and end it. You don't need to follow my crazy repeats at all. You don't need to follow my presets at all, but that would be a good spot where I marked it for you to change a keyboard or to change a harmony. So it's a nice song. I always like this song. I do have fingering for you as well. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're perfect. All right. Now, next week, what the world needs now is Love, Sweet Love. Yeah, good song. All right. For those of you who need fingering, stick around. For those of you who don't, it's been my pleasure today. Thank you so much. And get your pencils out. Here we go. E5, D4, C3, G1. E5, D4, C3, G1, G1. Pretty easy. Second line, E2, G4, E2, G4. A5, G4, F3, G4. Check mark. Third line, E5, D4, C3, G1. G1, E5, D4, C3, G1, G1. Pretty simple stuff, actually. Low G1, high E3. That is a long stretch, but you can do it. Now, if you want to skip that first G, you can. Just cross it out and start on the E. E3, G5, E3, G5, E3. Low A1, high A5, G4, F3, G4. Top of the second page, E2, G4, E2, G4, E2. Pretty easy stuff. A5, G4, F3, G4, E2. Second line, E2, G4, E2, G4, E2. A5, G4, F3, G4. Third line. Oh, you can put a check mark at the end of that line if you want. Third line, E5, D4, C3, G1. E5, D4, C3, G1, G1. Line 4, E3, G5, E3, G5. E3, D2, C1. E3, D2, C1, C1. First ending, your pickup notes are E5, D4, C3. Let's turn the page and go to page 206. B flat 4, B flat 4, A3, G2, 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 F1. G can be 2 or 3, whichever one you like, and then E is a 1. Your echo, do it with your left hand so that you can hold on to. So you can hold on to that last note. Yeah, or you can do it down here. You can do it on the bottom. So whichever one you like. It depends on what your sounds are that you chose and whichever's easiest for you to get to. If you'd rather go to a higher echo, that's fine too. It's only 2 notes, correct. Second line, B flat 4, B flat 4, A3, G2, G2, F1. The G can be 2 or 3, and the E is a 1. High C5, G2, A3. Third line, A3, G2, F1. A flat 4, G3, F2, G3, E1. If you're doing an echo, it would be 3 and, do your echo, but make sure that you come in so that echo is completely optional. No echo on the second line, nope. Okay, at the end of line 3, A4, G3, F2. Fourth line, G3, E1. End of the line, E5, D4, C3. Next line, G1. And then there's an echo there, whatever fingers you want. E5, D4, C3, G1, G1. End of the page, E2, G4, E2. Top of the page, E, G4. It's a G. Second measure. Oh, shoot, what do I have here? A3, B flat 4, A3, G2. Check mark. E5, D4, C3, low G1. E5, D4, C3, G1, G1. E3, G5, E3. Third line, G5, E3, D2, C1. E3, D2, C1, C1. Next line, E3, D2, G5. And the last line is E3, D2, C1, C1. Nothing hard. So this is where you want to use your creativity. The last line is E3, D2, C1, C1. Use your creativity to use upper lower keyboards, add some harmony. And that you don't want to play everything on one keyboard and one thing for the whole way through because it's going to sound a little bit boring. You don't want to do that. Don't do that to Bob Seger, please.
Mhm.
So use what your organ has. And if you're not sure what would be a good thing to do, try a few things. And you may want to go see your personal assistant at your favorite store or give me a call. All right, next week we will do What the World Needs Now. Fabulous song. We'll have some fun with that. We're almost to the end of this book, everybody. Woohoo!
Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. We've gone through several books in this class, haven't we?
Yeah.
If you would have told me that I would still be Zooming,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
thought Zoom was going to last 3 months and we'd be done. And nope, here we are, and I'm loving it, and I hope you guys are too. Thank
Yeah,
you
I'm
guys
very
so
happy
much.
you're still going.
And we're still going, that's right.
Very happy you
Hey,
are.
dear.
Very
Me
happy for
too.
you. Thank you.
Me too, because this whole group has become family, and it's a wonderful
Yes.
thing.
Yes. Right, Sue Kelly?
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.